UFC fighters are known for their intense training methods in order to prepare for the challenges they face in the octagon. But some fighters take their training to the next level, adopting such uncommon practices that leave many scratching their heads. Today, we're looking at some of the most unusual methods employed by the UFC fighters to keep up with the competition. Here are 15 UFC fighters, past and present, with unorthodox training techniques. First off, at number 15, we have Emil Meek. Former UFC welterweight Emil Meek, also known as Valhalla, has been known to do much of his training in the Norwegian wilderness, running through forests and climbing mountains. What's more, Meek occasionally puts on a sauna suit and does his entire workout inside it to help him sweat out toxins and increase his endurance. But of course, we have to mention the time when Meek was scheduled to face Diego Sanchez in the octagon, but the fight couldn't happen. Instead, the two ended up training together. Well, this also meant training with controversial coach Joshua Fabia, who would chase Meek and Sanchez in a locked cage with a sharp blade. Yes, you heard that right. Fabia would run after them with a knife in an attempt to heighten their awareness and teach their bodies to avoid being touched. While Meek initially believed in this method, he eventually came to his senses and opted out of Coach Joshua's method. Up next, at number 14, we've got the Korean zombie, Chang Sung Jung. Jung is known for his relentless pace and tireless cardio, and he credits a lot of that to his unusual training method, running up and down a mountain. Now, Jung lives in South Korea, where he trains at the foot of a mountain every day as part of his cardio routine. But we're not talking about a little hill here. This is a full-on mountain. No wonder Jung's opponents have a hard time keeping up with him in the octagon. His training regime is intense, to say the least. It's no surprise he's in such great shape. So next time you see Jung in the octagon, be prepared to watch his opponent struggle to match his pace, thanks to his mountain running training method, followed by Dan Henderson at number 13. Dan Henderson is among the fighters known for their unorthodox training methods, and he's got a pretty interesting way of getting ready for his fights. Apart from the usual methods like sparring and strength training, Henderson has been spotted practicing his grappling on a body opponent bag, which is a life-sized dummy specifically for grappling practice. But that's not all. He's also been seen training with a medicine ball, incorporating it into his striking drills and using it to boost his power and endurance. Moving on to number 12, Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey is the former UFC women's bantamweight champion and one of the most popular female fighters of all time. In addition to her traditional training, Rousey has been known to practice her judo throws on a trampoline, which allows her to get a feel for the movement and momentum needed to execute a successful throw. What's more, she also incorporated unconventional training methods like rock climbing into her routine, as well as practicing her striking techniques on a heavy bag filled with sand. Next at number 11 on our list is none other than the Spider Anderson Silva. Now, Silva is a UFC legend and widely considered one of the greatest fighters of all time, but let's be real, the guy's also kind of a weirdo, and his training methods definitely reflect that. One of Silva's go-to moves is what he calls the invisible box. Basically, he'll stand on one leg and pretend to step over an invisible box, switching legs and repeating the motion. It looks completely ridiculous, but Silva swears by it for improving balance and coordination. But that's not all. Silva also practices his footwork by dancing around in high heels. Yes, you read that right. Silva claims that fighting in heels teaches him how to move and plant his feet more effectively. But hey, if it works for him, it works for him. We're not gonna knock it. Not to mention, we've got the lioness, Amanda Nunes, at number 10. Nunes is the current UFC women's bantamweight and featherweight champion, and she's definitely not afraid to try out some unconventional training methods. One of Nunes' favorite ways to mix things up is by practicing her strikes and combos on a punching bag filled with water. The added resistance of the water helps her develop more power and speed in her punches and kicks. Plus, it's just a really cool visual. Let's learn more about none other than Jon Jones at number 9. Jones is one of the most dominant fighters in the UFC today. He's known for his impressive cardio and endurance, and while he certainly puts in his fair share of traditional training, he also incorporates some unconventional methods into his workouts. One of these methods is the sled push, where he straps himself to a sled and pushes it around the gym, simulating the resistance of an opponent. What's more, he also practices his striking techniques by using a punching bag filled with water, which allows him to get a feel for the weight and resistance of an opponent's body. Coming up at number 8 is Roy Nelson. This heavy-handed heavyweight is known for his love of food, and he's not afraid to indulge in some pretty wild flavors during his training. Nelson has been known to eat everything from crocodile meat to live worms as part of his diet, claiming that it helps him build strength and power. Yikes. Next, we have Tony Ferguson at number 7. Tony Ferguson has always been known for his eccentric personality and unique training methods. One of his most unusual practices is his use of a sensory deprivation tank. These tanks are designed to cut off all stimuli, including sound and light, in order to promote relaxation and meditation. El Kukui uses the tanks to focus on his breath and improve his mental toughness. Not to mention, in a bizarre training video, Tony was seen wrestling with a bathtub in the clip, followed by Rel Samar Paul Harris at number 6. The Brazilian fighter has a reputation for being one of the most intense grapplers in the UFC, but what sets him apart from the rest is his love for animal training. Paul Harris has been known to work with everything from lions to elephants in his training, using their power and aggression to push himself to the limit. Moving on to number 5, we have Khabib Nurmagomedov. Khabib's a fighter and a coach that isn't afraid to think outside the box when it comes to training. Apart from incorporating traditional methods such as wrestling and grappling drills, he also incorporates his Islamic faith into his training routine. This includes daily prayers and the observation of Ramadan, which, according to him, helps him stay disciplined and focus. But it's not just about the spiritual aspect. Khabib also believes that activities like horseback riding, which require balance and coordination, can be beneficial for his performance in the octagon. The Eagle's unique approach to training sets him apart and helps him stay at the top of his game. Next at number 4, we look at the Sugar Show. Bantamweight star Sean O'Malley is an admirer of McGregor and has even incorporated some of his training methods into his routine. In fact, O'Malley takes it to the next level by adding in some unusual practices, such as rolling around in the snow and training with a blindfold. Sugar Sean believes that these methods help him focus on his other senses and become more in tune with his body. Moving on, Diego Sanchez is next at number 3. Diego Sanchez has always been known for his unique training methods, including using a weighted sled and dragging tires around the gym. But his most unusual practice is his use of breath work. Sanchez believes that proper breathing techniques can help him tap into his inner energy and increase his power and endurance. In fact, he practices various breathing exercises, including the Wim Hof method, in order to achieve this. At number 2, let's learn more about Mark Hunt. Mark Hunt's unique training method is his use of kettlebells. Hunt has been known to use kettlebells as part of his strength and conditioning workouts, using them to improve his power, speed, and endurance. What's more, he's also been known to use them as part of his striking drills, using the weight of the kettlebell to simulate the resistance of an opponent's body. For our pick for number 1, let's take a look at one honorable mention, Wanderlei Silva. The Brazilian striker is famous for his aggressive style and relentless pace in the octagon, but outside of the cage, he has some pretty bizarre training habits. Silva's a big believer in the power of fire, and he's been known to use flames as part of his workouts, claiming that it helps him build mental toughness and focus. Finally, at number 1, we have another cardio fanatic, the notorious Sean McGregor. We all know about McGregor's brash personality and his love of a good party, but he's also one of the fittest fighters in the UFC, and he credits a lot of that to his unique training method, sprinting on a beach. McGregor has a home in Ireland that's just a stone's throw from the beach, and he takes full advantage of it. Before his long hiatus, he was often spotted springing up and down the sandy shore, getting in some serious cardio while also enjoying the scenery. It's a pretty cool way to mix things up and keep training fresh. What's more, during the peak of his featherweight run, McGregor became obsessed with studying animal movements and hired controversial fitness expert Ido Portal. In fact, this led to practices such as balancing exercises, jumping over logs, and even shaking his arms in noodle-like fashion to loosen them up. These practices became internet memes and were famously described by Nate Diaz as playing touch butt in the park. While these training methods may seem strange to some, these fighters believe in their effectiveness and have incorporated them into their routines in order to improve their performance in the octagon. Whether it's rolling around in the snow or running after the fighter with a dagger, these UFC fighters are dedicated to finding any edge they can in their quest to become the best. That's a wrap for this video. Which one of these methods did you find the most unusual? Let us know in the comments below. Also, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like these.